There was some guy there was some stupid asshole who bet $3.5 million on the Eagles beating the Carolina Panthers. Well, with Carolina winning at the end of the third quarter, my guy had to sweat. I guess a millionaire shooting himself in the foot is at least a little bit better than getting shot in the city. I recently read that Sean McDermott is one of 5 coaches in NFL history to have 11 wins for the length of time since I was last sober and employed, which is about 5 years. Yeah, it's not meaningless, but there is not one single thing about him and the job his team has done that screams elite to me, except for Josh Allen. Well, for one thing, 2 of those wins that they get every year are against the Jets, so that shit don't count. And on top of that, the division holds up about as strong as wet paper mache. My biggest issue isn't Sean McDermott supposed to be like a defensive guy? Well, no game symbolizes the job he's done and what's going on in Buffalo quite like this week's. In fact, I would say it was the perfect representation. Think about how many times McDermott had a supposedly elite top 5, top 10 defense, and that shit always collapses. Literally with 13 seconds left, it fucking collapsed. Josh Allen has clearly carried that team well above its pay grade, while standing on the admittedly sturdy pile of corpses that make up the AFC East. Well, versus the Rams, he had 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 touchdowns. Did I stutter? Is it early onset CTE combined with chronic alcoholism related brain cell death? No. Josh Allen threw 3 touchdowns, then ran for 82 goddamn yards and another 3 touchdowns. He willed that team to victory, and McDermott, the biggest fraud, defensive expert since Robert Saleh and Matt Eberflus, and I'm starting to think maybe hiring defensive head coaches in an offensive league is about as smart as trying to fix erectile dysfunction and a dead dick by sticking it in an electrical outlet and asking Zeus, god of Olympus, for more juice. They can't even make the AFC Championship game, and that's because good teams and good coaches constantly exploit the flaws in their team's inferior coaching. For fuck's sake, the Rams hadn't gone above 30 points in a single game all season. They were held to 21 points or fewer 7 times this year. It's not exactly the greatest show on turf. Yet they go up against the Bills and they score at will, 44-42. The Bills are a fraud. They have been a fraud. They will forever be a fraud unless McDermott gets fired or sticks his D in an electrical outlet and asks a Greek god to electrify it. At this point, Buffalo Bills fans should table any discussion of being Super Bowl champs.
Hey folks, True Bass here, yet again coming to you live from a sewer. You may be saying to yourself, this is a recorded video, how the fuck is it live? Fuck you, don't correct me when I'm speaking. What's more, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment, tell me what your favorite moment of incompetence was from the NFLOL this past weekend. Shit, tell me what your favorite incompetent moment was from this entire season, because God knows 2024 has been very generous. Get me the fuck out of this sewer by helping me become YouTube famous.
I missed week 12, never did a video for it. Well, after Thanksgiving Day weekend, I did get a video out there mocking Eberflus, but what happened with the rest of the league? Well, I had started recording a video on how many teams are competent at being incompetent, like the barely losing Chicago's, the Giants hurting their rivals' draft position while preserving their own. How about the Raiders allowing the Chiefs to continue their impossible mode challenge to win almost every game by like 2 fucking points or less and still somehow get a Super Bowl at the end of the year? But then I got stuck. Because I bore witness to a modern art masterpiece of incompetence, a shared 2-team group hypnosis where everyone involved was being mind controlled to be as big of a fuck up as possible. This is the type of game that kills puppies and makes angels weep. This is the type of game that makes a Christian fundamentalist perform an abortion out of fear that their child may one day grow up to be a part of something as devastatingly incompetent as this shit. Which game was it? Who was involved? Well, who the fuck do you think is one of the teams involved? Of course it was the Jets. Going up against Seattle, it was one of the finest displays of fuck-uppetry that I've ever seen. It ought to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame as a monument to dipshititude. Now, I tried to do a complete deep dive into the game. It was going to be the longest pissed that I've ever reviewed a singular game, and I couldn't make it through. It was just too much to cover for me in 1 week of video production. I kind of collapsed and gave up partway through the week. I knew I wasn't going to get that shit done, and then I was burnt out. After the season is over, I'll come back to it. There's quite a few things I want to come back to when the season is over, but I'm telling you, go find a way to watch that game. It was a comedic gold mine. 4 full quarters of meltdowns, fumbles, picks, penalties, goal line failures, brain farts, draft bungles coming back to haunt you, bad calls, and more. Naturally, how could it end any other way but with a New York Jets loss? Something that they gleefully carried over into this week, going up against the Dolphins and securing a win with a super late Davante Adams cat. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. The Jets blew it. All Davante Adams had to do, go down in bounds, and they run out the clock. Except he goes out of fucking bounds. And then the Jets defense proves how classless they are by purposely performing a 9/11 recreation and collapsing. The New York Jets season is historic. I have never seen, ever, a team creatively fail, implode, self-destruct, and not just shoot themselves in the foot, but attach a ring of dynamite to their entire lower body and blow that shit off. This is a generational ability to pull defeat from the jaws of victory. At this point, they are so short of their talent level that you need a fucking scanning electron microscope to find how short they are. If you told me that Woody Johnson worked out a deal with Rodgers and Adams to tank on purpose just so that they get a super high draft pick, I'd fucking believe it. That's how inexplicably perfect they are. Goddamn artful at their awfulness. I mean, these motherfuckers, they got a Costco membership so they can buy failure in bulk and suck down hot dogs, which is great practice for sucking dick on the field, in free agency, and in the draft. You realize that if you ignore quarterback, they did not draft a single offensive player in the first round from, I think, 2007 till 2020. Recently fired general manager Joe Douglas tried to draft some offensive players, but he was a Costco hot dog super slurper when it came to drafting. They also constantly hire rookie defensive head coaches. Do you think the next regime's gonna get the fucking memo and go for offense, or will they hyper-focus on this season how an incompetent staff let their defense collapse like a deck of cards, and then use that as justification to bring in yet another rookie defensive coach, draft more defenders, fail to build the offense fully, and then find themselves behind the league meta yet again with another rookie defensive coach? We all know the answer, don't we? If you ever want to appeal to authority and assume NFL players and general managers are correct just because they super slurped enough shriveled billionaire sausage to get a job, just remember, the Giants chose to use over a third of Saquon Barkley's potential salary on Drew fucking Lock. What's more, the players, despite seeing how bad Drew Lock is every day in practice, were mad that he wasn't starting when Jones first got the boot. 11 points versus the Saints, 20 versus the Cowboys. GM Joe Shane should be unemployed on the breadlines as of, when did Barkley leave? Well, as of that fucking moment, for a team called the Giants, they sure as shit are small-minded and short-sighted. While we're talking about some of the finest examples of choke artistry and incompetence known to sport here in the NFLOL, does anyone remember when the Arizona Cardinals had first place in hand at 6-4? Does anybody remember when the Arizona Cardinals had first place in hand at 6-4 with a struggling Vikings team sandwiched between two matchups versus the same Seattle Seahawks that almost punted a victory away to the Jets in the previously mentioned fuck-up Super Bowl? Yeah, well, Arizona remembered that the only thing more scarce than water in that desert is victory. Zach Charbonnet, getting the start, lived up to his second-round billing. And don't you fucking dare correct me and tell me it's Charbonnet. Anyway, he lived up to his second-round billing and ran all over the Cardinals, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a good thing they wear red, because after that physical beating, the downright bludgeoning that they received from, that juggernaut 27th ranked rushing offense in football, well, their jersey color hides the gallons of blood that were spilled all over them. The NFL script is written. The Cardinals are forever bad. There is no escape from Judgment Day. Their season is terminated. The Raiders, they have been league worst all year, yet I barely fucking talked about them. So after a 28-13 thrashing by the Bucs, it's time I finally... Oh, wait, what's that? Sounds like the wind. Sounds like Jerry Jones. Since them boys incompetently fucked up their draft position and helped their division rivals, it was time for the Bungles to do the same. Oh, they tried their damnedest to waste yet another Burrow bomb-filled air raid, 369 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Cowboys said, "Nah fam, let's reverse punt this game away." Special teams attention to detail. These are as big a sign of coaching as anything else that you're gonna see on game day. So what does it say about the Cowboys and their coaching when you see shit like this? Yep. Going after a blocked punt and chest bumping it to the Bungles, who were all too happy to land on it and ensure another year of drafting too high to get an elite offensive tackle. The only question that I have left is, when is Joe Burrow going to get hurt risking his body in meaningless December football? And you just know it'll be a devastating injury, one that's going to fuck up next year too. Now, what was I talking about before the Cowboys and the Bungles? Oh well, I forgot. Just like Antonio Pierce forgetting to feed his fucking dogs that one time. The Raiders suck. Fuck the Raiders. Fuck Antonio Pierce. It's a man and a team that proves you don't have to be part of the circus to be a fucking clown. Oh yeah, in other news, the Jaguars obliterated their draft position too, going against a Tennessee offense that seems determined to drown its own defense like a plague rat. Anybody remember when they traded away A.J. Brown? Well, Mike Vrabel saw his general manager's plan, said fuck that, I'm pulling a mutiny, and I'm either winning or I'm getting fired. Goddamn general manager treats talent the way a runway model treats food and purges all of it. Well, congratulations. This is the inevitable result. I don't know where the fuck they go from here. City of Music's gonna be singing the blues for a long ass time. Before we end this video, I concocted a new plan to get out of the sewer. And since my sports gambling habits could best be described as charitable donations to FanDuel, I have shifted focus to live poker, which has kept me extremely busy this past weekend. If this shit keeps up, I'll be out of the sewer and back in an above ground dumpster in no time.